Hello and welcome. I'm Matt Ritchie, lifestyle architect, coming to you today with Eric Sjoberg. And Eric is here joining us today. He brings a masterful approach to resolving issues that can affect our individual lives as well as our relationships. The embodied awareness that he brings to his sessions can resolve the negative cycles and deep-seated traumas that impact the joy, love, and success of our relationships. His compassionate approach offers valuable resources to enhance the sense of connection that is our birthright. Through personal sessions and focused group work, Eric provides guidance that brings balance and connects the body-mind complex more deeply to our hearts. At the end of this conversation, Eric will provide you with a link specially created for those who are watching this interview to apply to receive a free 90-minute session. Awesome stuff, Eric. How are we doing today?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me. How are you doing?
Feeling good, feeling invigorated and alive. I'm excited to have you on board here. I know that this is our second attempt at this, and I'm excited it finally came together. So, for all those watching out there, I gave them a little brief snippet of who you are. Why don't you tell them a little bit about what exactly got you into this and what your big why is?
Well, I got into this work through healing my own issues, my own struggles, my own traumas, and working with other people, being mentored, being taught. It was a real exploration into my own shadow and into my own struggles, and finding ways to solve where I was became a real passion for me. And the next layer of it was, as I began working with other people, I realized that a lot of the language and systems that I was running into were not really brought forth in ways that people could understand. So I've been trying to find ways to put it into language that people can understand more easily.
Language is such an important barrier that we need to cross to really connect with people. I know, having studied NLP and languaging in general, that's such an important key to really transforming anything, because you can't speak the same language if you're not on the same page. It doesn't sink in. You just don't really get it the same way.
Right. So a lot of the training that I've done has been in pretty esoteric modalities of working with trauma and psychology and spirituality, and I found that how to communicate those to the average person has been pretty limited. So I've been coming up with systems and models and ways to talk about it and ways to approach it and bring it into the body that have been helpful for a lot of my clients. And for me, mostly for me in the beginning.
Yeah, and you mentioned about getting into this by healing your own things. If you would, I'd love for you to share one of the biggest breakthroughs and the biggest things that really brought you into this.
Yeah, good question. So I think a big piece of it was I was married some years ago and was really found myself more and more depressed and more dissatisfied with what was happening in the marriage, and I was on antidepressants and I was sleeping on the couch and things just weren't clicking, and I found myself starting to do yoga and tai chi and some other practices that helped me kind of start to wake up, and that brought me into a point in my marriage where it was very clear to me that things weren't going right, but I didn't know how to get out of it, and I had to take a leap. I had to take a leap of faith into moving out of what I had committed to, and into leaving the marriage, and that brought me really deeply into doing work on my own shadow, on my own kind of lower self, and the places where I'd not been showing up in the marriage for my wife, but more importantly, where I hadn't been showing up for myself. And that was a pleasurable journey, at parts of it, but a lot of struggle and a lot of uncomfortable self-facing that really um, led me more and more to having more awakening and more appreciation for being in relationship and being in the present moment, and, and finding the present moment through being reflected in relationship. That that helped me to see where I wasn't showing up, or where I wasn't seeing the other person clearly, or where I was bringing my past in and putting it on my partner. And so that has brought me to a place where I feel much more comfortable about all those things, and where I'm comfortable in not knowing what I'm doing at any particular moment, but being curious and bringing what I do know into connection and into really exploring who the other person is and how I'm showing up, and the other parts of me that I maybe hadn't known before. So in
Yeah.
a perpetual curiosity, if you will.
No, I love that. You're a man after my own heart. That's one of my highest goals, is to just continue growth in that open, childlike curiosity that I think lives within each and every one of us. That for some reason, I think society's trying to stamp it out of us. I'm not sure exactly why that is. You know, this whole like gotta grow up and be mature and not act like a kid. But a childlike curiosity for me is one of the biggest drivers, one of the biggest things that actually moves me forward into growing into a better version of myself every single day. And I love
Right.
hearing you say that. And knowing people such as yourself that are out there in that same mindset makes me happy, because I feel like that's actually what's going to shift the world, is that childlike curiosity.
Right. No, I like how you're saying that. It's what I find is that in our culture there's a real kind of dogma into knowing or thinking we know, and thinking we know like ourselves, thinking that we know our bodies thinking we know the other person. There's a story that I have of kind of a teaching story that is, I call it the baby and the elephant, which is, if you imagine a baby in diapers sitting on the head of an elephant, and the elephant is out in the jungle, and the elephant's going this way and he's going that way and he's knocking over this tree and he's going to the bathroom here and he's fighting that elephant and he's making love to another elephant, and meanwhile the baby is sitting on top of the head of the elephant and imagining that he's in charge. So the elephant goes left and the baby says, "Go left," and the elephant goes right, and the baby says, "Go right," and on and on. And so the ego, the baby's kind of limited sense of self, as disconnected from really being the elephant, is attempting to try and be in control and to trying to know, and is kind of fooling himself into that process, and in relationship with other babies on other elephants, and everyone is in this fantasy of being in charge and in control of this vast amount of impulse and physiology and heart rate and desire and fear and anger, and we're not. We might have the possibility of being in relationship to these involuntary processes, but we're not in control of them.
Yeah.
And part of what I do with people is help people kind of recognize where that is, and how they might become a little more relaxed in being out of control and not knowing, and how to be in relationship with another person in recognition that they don't really know and they're not in control, and to give them a little more compassion around that. And that really deepens relationships.
Yeah, there's two things there that I love you hit upon. One was the compassion, like having like full-on compassion for other people and their journey, and knowing that they're going through their own stuff. And the other one is the comfortability and like being okay with not knowing. I think that's actually been one of my biggest breakthroughs, is like realizing and being okay that I I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And to be honest, most people out there, almost everyone, doesn't know what they're doing either. And that's okay. And it can feel scary because you feel like, say, you feel out of control. You feel like you don't have. Our mind loves control. I'm a big studier of the mind, and the mind loves to know what's next and have control and make you feel safe, and all these mechanisms that are wired in for our safety, for our survival, right, over thousands of years. But we really don't have as much control as we like to believe.
Right. Right, and there's a way that I kind of bring this into relationships on another level, which is it's like, how do we move from not knowing someone into being more and more intimate with them? And so I have this model that came to me that I'm calling concentric circles of relationship. And so if you imagine like 27, it's a random number, circles, one inside the other nested, and outside of the outside circle are people you don't know. You've never met them. And inside of the center circle is your divine other, your soulmate, your mate. And intermediately, there are many intermediate circles. And we have the possibility of moving progressively through these circles towards the center, or we tend to jump over circles. Well, what happens is that in these involuntary processes that we have, we tend to have unfulfilled and neglected childhoods at best, where we didn't really get our needs met from mom and dad, particularly mom, but mom and dad, for attunement, for affection, for appreciation, for attention, these kinds of things. And when we don't have these, it has an effect on our nervous system. We get anxious, we get apprehensive, we may even have trauma from levels of neglect that can happen in that. And the resulting sensations are very uncomfortable. And there's a tendency towards abandonment anxiety or separation anxiety. And these sensations lie in this unconscious, in the elephant, and we don't like them. So we have a tendency to either avoid relationship completely or stay on the outer circles and not really move towards intimacy, or we want to jump as far in as we can and possess the other. Move right in, or get married too soon, or like move into deeper connections so that we can have some fantasy that we possess this person and that they won't leave us, which of course isn't true, but our nervous systems and our emotions are drawing us into that. And what inevitably happens, or almost inevitably, is that we are in those deeper circles. Maybe we're married and look around and go, wow, I didn't know that about you. Pretty sure if I did, I might not have gone as fast, or I might not even be here. Now what do I do? Like, how do I navigate this? So you start learning about the other person kind of from the inside circles, where you don't really have as much freedom to move out, to move into, exhaling and maybe in more choice. And there's more kind of locked into the relationship, which creates a whole nother set of problems that become more complicated.
Yeah, wow. I like that. I think the circle is metaphor. I'm a big visual person, so putting a visual to it is beautiful.
Yeah, it's a cool image, and so the movement of organically moving kind of slowly from one circle to the next and getting to know someone and like being in stress or letting them be in stress in a particular circle and seeing what shows up in them before you kind of move deeper. Because when you see what someone does, or see how you are with someone, or see how the coupleship is under stress or different circumstances, situations, you learn a lot more. And it's so common. I have a lot of clients that come to me where they're already deep in the relationship and they're like, holy crap, what's happening right now? And and where that becomes an additional burden on the relationship because there isn't the freedom to move. So that movement slowly can really give us the freedom to know another. And then the other piece of it is that it's easier for us to move inwards in circles, to get closer and closer, than it is for us to move outwards. So even just a gentle movement out of like, wow, I need a little space. I'm going to go with the boys to, to Mammoth for the weekend, and where that can become problematic in a relationship when there's too quick of a movement in. But certainly, if there's a recognition, it's like, wow, this is not where I want to be right now. I need to back off. It can be a big drama, and it can really jeopardize any possible friendship or less deep circle relationship that might happen if there was a slower movement. And that's not always what we want. Like we're connected to someone, we care for them. Maybe we want to stay connected, and this movement out almost always or very often results in the annihilation of the connection on any intimate level.
Yeah.
So what I encourage is for people to kind of, as they're getting to know another, is to have some intentional movements out, almost like an exhale. So you have an inhale and exhale, and you can be in conversation with your partner about this and be like, wow, let's take a little space and see what it's like see what that's like for you, see what that's like for me, and let's kind of back off a little bit for a week or a few days and see what that's like, and to be in relationship with the involuntary processes that happen in that exhalation together, rather than in opposition. In that, when you're allies, it's much easier. And that inhalation and exhalation, as you then move deeper and deeper into the relationship, you have the mobility and the resilience in the relationship to absorb a whole lot of more interesting and lifelike experiences.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I feel like you're describing my relationship. It's like taking down these layers by layer and learning more about the person and uncovering and getting deeper. That's why I'm 31 now. I just got engaged, and I feel like people should not get married before 30. It's like I hate to put stigmas on ages, but just as far as life experience and what people go through and all that kind of stuff, there's so much that you have to uncover just about yourself, let alone within a relationship, that blows my mind. But you touched on a point that I really want to come back to really quick, and early on when you started that, when you talked about the middle circle kind of being like a soulmate, or that divine connection. And my question for you is do you believe in that one person that we're not meant to, but we're best suited with one special person?
It's a common question and a real curiosity for people out there, and I would say that my best answer for that is that I don't know the answer to it.
I like that. The not knowing.
I mean, how am I to know such a thing? What I do know is that any relationship that we're drawn into, and in particular if both people are drawn into it, there is evolution possible there. It may be evolution that has more struggle than play and pleasure, or it may have more play and pleasure than struggle, or some balance of it. But we can learn and evolve and see ourselves more, and learn how to love more, and learn how to have boundaries more, and learn how to have our potency more, and how to have love and potency and power together. Like power and love is kind of a theme in my work. How do we integrate power and love? And so as we move more and more into connection, I think that that integration can be very powerful. Whether or not we can meet someone and have this light bulb go off and go, wow, you're the one, this is it, oh, I'm the one for you too, this is great, let's do happily ever after. I've seen people move kind of in that direction, and have this experience of like having each other's backs. and relating to each other from that, but also relating to the world with each other, with each having the other's back. And I believe that that is maybe more a measure of one's own evolution and security in who they are, as well as the grace of meeting another that is in a similar place.
I think maybe you brought up more questions than you answered there, but thank you for that input. It's a deep question. I'm always curious what other people think into that. So my question following that would be, of course, everyone's looking for the one. Maybe they don't believe there's just one, but they're looking for that person to share their life with, to have a meeting, connection with, to just experience life on a different level. And there's going to be people out there in relationships already, and there's going to be people out there watching this who are single. And I'm curious, there's like a telltale, or there's a marker that you can just kind of know if you're already in a great relationship, or what to look for if you're meeting people and connecting with people, and how they can really distinguish who will be a better fit for them, who will be that soul connection with them.
Yeah, good question. Good question, which is different than soulmate, like the one.
Right.
But in answering this, I think the place of well, I'll circle it back into like primatology and the biology of connection for us as mammals that comes out of this primal initial bond of mother and baby with breastfeeding and protection of mother and baby. If we're talking gorillas or chimpanzees or all of that, there is without that bond, the baby will die. And so that bond is the mother having the back of the baby, having this deep, deep connection of bonding, which has all these hormones, oxytocin in particular, in it, that have this movement of love. Really, it's the bonding hormone of love, of really having the other person's back. Like, I got your back. And the mutual experience of both people having each other's back and really being there for them on a mental level, on an emotional level, and on a physical level is a very profound experience. And when I've experienced it, I feel a paradigm shift in my body and in my heart, where it's like, whoa, this is deep. Like, I feel met, and I feel like the person's got my back. I mean, this is as good a phrase as I have for it, but it's less of a mental exercise than an actual physical, transpersonal experience, even.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm very kinesthetic, so I thought maybe just me kind of feeling that, but I love that you're going back to like the physiology of,
Right. I'm very kinesthetic as well, and so this is a physiologically sourced kinesthetic experience of love. That I think
someone maybe more visual, or they're more auditory, or have a different maybe love language, so to speak, and they're not kinesthetic. Is it similar? Do they still have that physical knowing, so to speak?
Well, in my understanding and my experiences with the bonding, that is love, that is kind of underneath the depths of us as mammals and us as humans, I believe it does have a physical sensation experience that kind of rises up out of, like, if people speak about chakras, it's like the first and second and third and on up, it builds. So the building of the first chakra is about grounding and feeling safe. So this experience of feeling safe has a sensation to it, whether you're visual or auditory or kinesthetic. when you feel safe, there's something happens in your nervous system where it opens, and it's a sensation. It's not just a thought. It's not a visual. It's a sensation. You can learn about that sensation through the visual, through the auditory, through the mental, but there is a physical sensation of it that I think bridges up and moves more and more into the heart and into the connection with other. A visual description of it, perhaps, I speak of power and love. So power is this masculine principle, and it's vertical, like a redwood tree. It's big and it's strong. And the horizontal is the feminine, and it's more kind of watery, and it reaches out into other. And so the integration of both of those, when those are both kind of landed in one's sensation, as well as there's a visual experience to it. I can see it sometimes. I can see it in how someone stands or sits, or whether they have this capacity for being in the vertical, and also whether they have the capacity for being in the horizontal. Because some people are very rigid and upright and not in their heart. There isn't this kind of reaching out experience. And the same can be in the horizontal, where they're in their feminine and they're connecting, but they have no capacity to really hold it up like a hat stand. They don't have any structure for it. Yeah. So that's language that has visual to it and sensation.
Beautiful. I love that. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I feel like this is, I just looked at the time, I feel like this is something we go deep into all the stuff I love talking about, especially when we bring in the scientific elements. I love science. I love neurology and physiology and how it all connects. Fascinating. So
great.
I'm gonna switch paths a little bit. We're almost out of time here, but what if someone, who would be the person you would be looking for that you normally, or that would be looking for you, I should say. What's normally going on with somebody when they contact you and like, hey, Eric, I need your help. This and this is going on. Like, who is that person? And when they're listening, they'll know, and they're like, that's me.
Yeah, great. Thank you for asking the question that way, because that is important for me. The people that tend to get the most out of working with me are people that have kind of reached a point of really being ready to do the work, to be willing to look inside and face themselves, both in looking at the uncomfortable places of pain and perhaps trauma, if there's some trauma in there, but as well as the discomfort of feeling and facing where they have light and where they have pleasure. Because sometimes that can also be uncomfortable for people, and where their willingness to do the work on themselves, to be more connected in relationship with other, whether they're already in a relationship or they've reached a point in their struggles of being in a relationship where they may be single, but they want to do the work on themselves so that they can become more prepared for being in a relationship. I think that's an essential ingredient for people that want to work with me. It's I'm kind of, I would say, some people say I'm kind of intense. I'm very soft and gentle, but I also have a level of combination of love and penetration in how I work. And this has shown me that people that just want to come in and kind of talk lightly about what's going on don't tend to enjoy sticking around with me. And I would say the same thing is also true with couples. I work with couples as well, and so people, if you're willing to really do this work and drop in and explore, I'm more than happy to play.
Yeah, and I love that. We have a similar demeanor when it comes to really getting into the work, because I also very in my feminine, very loving and whatever, but you gotta get in there. You gotta do the work. You can't beat around the bush. There's work to be done. There's things you need to uncover that are uncomfortable, that are not necessarily the most fun, but you know what? product afterwards is amazing. The product afterwards is worth all the uncomfortableness, all the struggle, all the past traumas. And I really love the work you're doing, of course, because my belief that, and I know we probably share this, is that we cannot complete other people. That we need to be whole and complete as ourselves, as a single person, to be able to then be our in a best relationship and really give our best self to another person and really create that relationship.
Right.
And what I strive to do is really just help people feel more complete on all levels. And I know that's something you do specifically within relationships, which I think is just amazing, because men, women, whatever, we all have these doubts and insecurities and whatever's holding us back from really being our best self. And then we can get over that and really dive in and do the work. And fun stuff is on the horizon. I know, I've done it.
That's right. Delayed gratification.
Haha, there you go. I like that. Delayed gratification. Well, Eric, thank you for sharing your knowledge. Thank you for just showing up in the world and doing the light work that you're doing. It's much needed in our world today. For everyone out there listening, we're going to put a link below this video where you can get in contact with Eric. He made a specific offer just for you guys listening that I'm going to give you a 90-minute free session where you're going to really dive in with you. Get clear on what it is that is holding you back, or what's stopping you from really stepping into an amazing relationship and really being happy within your relationships. And I think that's an amazing gift. So thank you for that, Eric.
Yeah, you're welcome. Go to that link, and there's an application that you'll receive when you sign up on that link that will get you moving in the direction of seeing what works.
Yeah, love that.
Yeah.
And everyone else out there, if you're listening, if you aren't interested in diving into relationships, you're like, I think I need to work on my business. I need to work on my health before I really jump into relationships. We are doing another version of the 30-Day Best Life Challenge coming up. So we'll have a link for that if you're wanting to jump in and take on what I call the 4 pillars, which is your health, your wealth, your relationships, and your self-mastery. Getting clear on all 4 of those areas so you can unblock all the things that are stopping you from living your best life. Check that out as well. If you're wanting to do the work within relationships, which I highly, highly recommend, something I've been doing for the last 2 years, ever since I realized that I didn't complete another person. I realized I need to be full and complete myself. That was something I took very seriously. And it's transformed my life. Like I said, I actually ended up getting engaged at the end of 2014. So all the relationship work that I've done has really paid off for me, and obviously in my relationship with my fiance. So thank you for joining us today, Eric. I really appreciate your wisdom. I'm excited for all the work and all the people that you're blossoming into this world of ours, and I hope that everyone who is on the fence of diving into a relationship, connect with Eric, fill out the application, see if it's a good fit for you, see if there's some magic and some synergy there between you guys, and just get on it. Take action. Whatever it is, take massive action today. Thank you again for joining us, Eric.
Yes, thank you, Matt, and congratulations to you and your upcoming marriage, your engagement. That's a milestone. I really want to honor you for that.
Thank you. It's something I say.
And thank you for having me today.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Have a great day. Enjoy the now, and we'll talk to you soon.